What is going on in the world, Lubie? I mean, and good morning, people. It's good to have you guys with us. Destined to go to the race later on today. You know, and Mayo's good. I mean, he keeps bringing those Friday and Saturday forms. Although one thing I find, and I love Tony Screno, but he always ends up taking like the Saturday racing form.
Oh, does he? Does he even bet? Why does he need the Saturday one? Is he betting on Saturday?
I don't know. I mean, is that a byproduct of being in the media forever, where whatever they're giving away, you're taking one? Like, even though you have like zero use for it.
What do you mean?
Is he watching FanDuel? I don't think so. That's on Tony's back.
I have no interest at all anymore watching any of it, and I almost grab it every week.
Yeah. It's insane, isn't it? Right? You wouldn't know how to read it anyway, right? I mean, look, it's no shame if you have never looked at a racing form. You look at it, it's like, what the fuck is this? That's probably the worst move that you can make in any kind of relationship. Try to teach your girlfriend to read the racing form. Not that she's incapable. No. Now, here's the thing. If she already knows everything about the form and she's pointing out things to you on the first date,
oh, that's great.
How do you feel about that woman?
Yeah, it's amazing.
But is she ever going to buy your bullshit when she's already surpassed you in terms of her degenerate levels, which would be the ultimate test? Because I like that when, you're with somebody. Now, this is only in my fantasies, Libby. Where you're with a woman at the track and she says, can you believe this, Christoph? Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is the second time he's put blinkers on this horse, and guess what happened both times? Finished last. Then he has the barn send in a bunch of money, so the horse is 4 to 5 every flash, and you know what happens with 4 to 5 favorites. People believe in them.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. Peel yourself off to Mount Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz coming off a big weekend. Lubie, I don't know how special your weekend was. I mixed in a sporting event, and it was very, very interesting from a lot of different aspects. Went to the FAU Tulane basketball game. Now, I was trying to figure if I'd ever been to an FAU basketball game before, and I do recall vaguely being in that arena, broadcasting a couple of games way back in the day for then what was known as Sunshine Network, now Bally Sports Sun, which they also, it might have been Bally Sports Florida. They ended up having both networks. It was Sports Channel at one time. Remember when they had those wars? You were barely even alive then. Yeah. I was very much immersed in that, whether Sports Channel was going to get the rights of this team or whether Sunshine Network going to get them. And they were in a battle, and there was bidding wars, all kinds of crazy stuff. I had been lined up with Sunshine Network since its inception, and had been taken care of very well by these people. So it was a pleasure to do any assignment. And I want to say that I broadcast at least one game from that FAU arena, which hasn't changed all that much. They've spiffed it up a little bit. They got a scoreboard in there now, big scoreboard with video screen with all kinds of stuff. You get replays and interesting things on there. And they got the stats up there. Very easy to see. But outside of that, Lubie, I mean, it's very reminiscent. A long, long time ago, Lubie, I used to cover JUCO basketball, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because there was a junior college. It was Chaffee, what was the name of the junior college. And it was located in the town where I was working for the Ontario Daily Distort, Ontario, California. Yesterday's News Tomorrow. And we used to cover pretty much anything that was of local significance. And they were in an interesting JUCO basketball circuit where they weren't a very good team, but there were a lot of players being stashed by UCLA and USC and some of the other powers that were out west on the JUCO circuit there in the so-called Inland Empire and down towards San Diego. So the games drew a little bit of interest. I don't know if it was all scouts and assistant coaches from various, big-time 4-year programs, but nonetheless, there was some interest in it. And I would say the FAU, it's hard to fathom, Lubie, when you go there, that this was a Final Four program just a year ago. Dusty May, epitome of class. We've had him on the show, and does he last past this year? I'm going to say no. Dusty May gone after this year. What do you think? I mean, he just signed the big extension, but how big could it be by comparison to, say, his beloved Indiana? Or maybe, is Ohio State's got an interim coach? Imagine that.
Yes.
Dusty May available there. Now, he hasn't had the same level of success that he had last year. I don't know that anybody in their wildest imagination could have anticipated that he would have that level of success last year, even after they won, 21 in a row at one point? Different conference this year. I mean, how much better could this new conference be that they're playing in? where they've been definitely challenged. Some people say, and I don't know that I buy this as much as a lot of other people do. Sounds like cliche, doesn't it? When people say, "Well, they got a target on their back now." Do you buy that, Lubie? I mean, do you make much of that? Who cares if you have a target on your back? If
I
you're really good,
mean,
you're going to win anyway.
the idea that teams bring their best game against you, look, naive. We feel like teams should do that every game. They don't. A lot of times you get up for this game over that game.
Yeah.
I get the idea, the target on the back. I don't know. Teams have, look, USF is better this year than they were last year. Maybe the AAC was better this year than last year. And again, it's hard to they always talk about repeating is harder than the first time. Like when you're coming back, you get a little lethargic, you get a little happy with your success. And by all accounts, like you just said, getting to the Final Four for FAU basketball.
It's impossible to conceive. I'm walking around this arena and around the campus there, catching a little bit of the waft of the atmosphere of the game. Of course, it was the idea of, and this whole thing was born from Leslie Visser, the lovely and talented one, who says, wow, there's a noon FAU game against Tulane. Why don't we go? And I thought, do I really want to do that? I've become very lame about attending sporting events because, you got to go through a lot of different things. The mechanics of going to a sporting event now kind of are in a little bit of non-compliance with my somewhat lazy, leave me alone lifestyle that I like to live.
Mhm.
Right? I like doing the shows. That's always great, but we don't even have to get together for the shows. I don't even know where you live, Lubie. I haven't even been to your house yet. It's not like you drive to the studio and you get together and you sit
Nope.
around. I mean, we used to. How many hours did we spend going over game plans for the show? And
Tons.
show sheets and things like that.
Tons.
Remember, we used to laugh. We used to find Andy Slater's show sheet
Yes,
when he was working at 940.
Yep.
And he literally had every word detailed that he was going to speak. Jim Sarney would have loved this. He would have loved the preparation that this guy put into it, including he had written in parentheses what drop he was going to play at certain times. And we thought, and what's funny is the people at the station there, the management, they always think, wow, that's great. Can you believe the guy? I mean, he really puts his head and heart into this. And it's like, that is the laziest fucking thing I've ever seen. Who would want to do a show that you already knew what the show was going to be?
Exactly.
It's insane. I mean, and especially in what is supposed to be a two-way talk environment and situation, which we haven't really embraced that much here because that's not the style anymore for some reason. Although I really enjoyed it. I would have been happy during those 14 years or whatever that was, 12 years that we were on the radio there, and it's a couple of years since. But I would have been happy to, at 6:01, go to the phones and start punching up calls, which people would consider lazy, but it's supposed to be communication, right? And your ability to kind of ad lib through the call and make the caller feel comfortable or like that they said something worthwhile. And I mean, the common school of thought was more along the lines of as soon as the caller says anything, disagree with it and tell him he's a moron. Holy Hank Goldberg, what am I talking about here? I never really went for that. But I certainly didn't go for the totally prepared show. I mean, you got to be kidding me. And it's not a sign of being slovenly in your approach, Lubie, to come in and not know exactly where you're going in every second. I would think that would make doing a talk show virtually impossible, wouldn't it?
I mean,
If anything throws you off your, off your line there, we do it to Mayo all the time. As soon as he starts talking, we try to throw him off, which is great. And then he gets all frustrated, and then we have to rely on clown stuff like the Big Bite to get through the program, which I hope he comes back in good shape from New Orleans. Mayo, he's got a replay going today on the Mayo Lunchbox show, but I think that's a good thing.
I don't know what shape it'll be.
I think he's going to have to detox after being in New Orleans. There are places you could go where you went to a lot of different restaurants, and you would think, oh, okay, it's not going to be that harmful. New Orleans is not one of those places.
No.
If you eat more than one meal a day when you're in New Orleans, I think you're bordering on needing a visit from the Surgeon General. You really are. And a sodium bloodbath, the likes of which you've never seen. But we hope he returns in good shape. I'm not optimistic after seeing the pictures he sent of like his second meal there, which was breakfast at Mother's. I'm not sure. Would you say that Mother's, is it a fair claim that they have the world's greatest baked ham?
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know about that. May be okay for the restaurants that are on this corner, but I don't know. It's the world's greatest baked ham. You got to be kidding me. the honey baked ham people may have something to say about that. I'm not sure. Anyway, good to be with you guys. So I go to the FAU game. They beat Tulane by 6 points. They were favored by 14. They were up somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 about midway through the second half. I wasn't paying a ton of detailed attention to everything that happened in the game. That guy Golden, the big Russian kid.
Oh, yeah.
I like him. He's developed. One thing I like about him, he came in a couple of years ago. I guess he's a junior now, and he has become significant. He's not Zach Edey, but he has a little bit of a Zach Edey presence, and he has improved tremendously. This is one thing that you like to see. Whoever is coaching this kid on footwork, he was essentially a klutz. He looked like Jaja Pachula. Yeah.
There's a clod.
Well, these guys, he was tripping over his own feet. Now he's running the floor. He's making things happen. He's got good positioning. His footwork is excellent by comparison to what it was. He's capable of shooting from more than 2 feet from the basket, although not too much more. But he plays, can I even use this cliche, Lubie? Within himself.
Okay.
He knows he's not somebody that's going to stretch the floor there. It's not like he's going to hoist him up like Porzingis, but a very strong guy on the inside. And you like to see that. You like to see a guy who just gets better each year, which he certainly has. So he kind of dominated this game against Tulane. In fact, when I was watching, it's always great being down on courtside and you're looking at the two teams. Remember when we saw Villanova and they were getting ready for the semifinal game? Who did they play? Oklahoma in that semifinal?
I think so.
Yeah. Did they play Oklahoma? Yeah, because Syracuse played North Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carolina and Villanova ended up in the finals. So one of them played Oklahoma and one of them played.
Remember, we're watching Villanova and they're warming up and they're making every shot. Archidiakonu and all of these guys. I mean, everything they hoisted up went through the basket. Mm-hmm. And you thought, wow, these guys are on. And then they went out and they smoked Oklahoma in that game. I think they won by like 40, 50 points.
30 or 40. It was like stupid.
Yeah. Well, was it Rick Barnes? Was he coaching Oklahoma?
No, Lon Kruger. Remember, because we sat through the presser and we were like,
yeah.
Oh, Lon, because he coached the Gators. And we were just like making fun of the fact that people were asking him serious questions.
Serious questions. The guy just lost by 50 with Buddy Hield.
You're like, how does he answer these fucking questions?
What are you going to say? We just got flat out fucked.
We just sat there laughing.
Yeah.
You're like, you should ask him, how does it feel? Like some time in Lasorda question.
Yeah. How does it feel to lose by 50 there, Lon?
What were you thinking?
It was interesting, too, because we did go to the press conference after the game. This was one of the highlights for me, believe it or not. And you know that I have zero inclination to hanging around.
Hate that.
And as soon as the game's over, I want out of there. Leslie Visser, of course, has a completely different approach, being a professional that she is. And she wanted to talk to Dusty May after the ball game, which you were figuring he probably wasn't going to be hanging around after this press conference. They have the press conferences held, the coach's press conference, in this little tiny room that you would never figure is the room where the press conference is going to be held. It looks like it's either a closet or a bathroom.
Oh God, really? Is that little?
Well, that's why I was so amazed. It like sort of came together for me. I mean, how far fetched it was that this was a team that was in the Final Four. Because I mean, you look at some of these other atmospheres and the conditions that some of these guys play in. I mean, you go to the Rupp Arena.
Oh yeah, it's like NBA.
There are 20,000 people there.
No, it's like NBA. I mean, their facility is rival any NBA facility. Are you kidding me? Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina.
The whole city's a buzz that they have a game that day. I know there are plenty of other things to do here. That's always a conversation that we have about sports in South Florida. Well, you could go kite surfing.
I bet you UCLA's facilities are fucking ridiculous, and there's plenty to do in Los Angeles.
Plenty to do, yeah. I mean, you get a big game in New York. You're going to have people, flowing into the garden there. They're all going to be psyched up and watch this college basketball game. As soon as they get out in the streets, there are 8 zillion opportunities. This was great. I would have to say it was extremely enjoyable. The fact that this is actually a big-time program, for how long, I don't know. But that it is right now and that they were in the Final Four last year. Literally, I got there about 11 o'clock. I drive right up. No charge for parking. You're parking within extremely reasonable walking distance to the arena. There was a big student kind of gathering outside. I don't know if all of these students couldn't have fit into the game because the place only holds, it says it holds 3,000, but I don't even know if that's the case.
3,000? I thought it was at least 5. It's only 3,000.
I think it's 3,000.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, there are stands. The highest seat in the grandstand on either side, which there are no actual seats under the basket. There might be a couple, but it's not really like a major seating element or component there. So you're talking about two sort of bleacher setups along the sidelines, and that's it. And they only go about, I don't know if it goes up 15 rows, Libby. The back seat would be courtside in any other arena. Like if you were in the nosebleed section, there is no such thing there. You would be essentially having a courtside seat anywhere else. I
Okay.
didn't see anybody scalping tickets outside. I don't know how much the tickets go for these games if you were going to buy a ticket.
No idea.
Not that I would ever take that into
Yeah,
consideration. Only going on freebies, and we were very well accommodated. They couldn't have been any more gracious. Of course, it was Leslie Visser. It wasn't like me walking in there and doing this, but and it couldn't have been any better, any nicer. The athletic department, the sports information department, extremely well run press conference, by the way, with Dusty May after, and very impressive, Luby, the young press corps.
I was
that
going to
was
say,
there.
were there people there to ask questions? Were people covering the game?
I don't believe that the local papers have a beat writer for FAU.
No, a beat writer. But I'm saying whenever there's a game, they could send someone. Like it's a local game.
It seemed like there were maybe a bunch of members of the student press corps there, and most of the people I would venture that were in the press conference, of which there might have been 15 people in there. I would guess that at least 10 of them were affiliated with the school.
Oh, so it was like
in some capacity.
God.
Yeah, they were either in journalism courses or whatever, and writing for the school paper, whatever they were doing. I don't know if they have a radio station there.
And they ask questions and he answers them like it's a real deal. Like they treat it like
yes, very much so. Leslie threw in a question.
I was gonna say, Visser Mama, there's no way she didn't ask something.
I told her she had to ask something if I went with her. And she asked about the tournament possibilities.
So in the middle of everything, does she? Because in the finals, they make you say your name and where you're with. But a lot of
she
the
didn't
time,
introduce herself.
Yeah, a lot of the time, because that would have been great. You have this is Jonathan Mayer.
Yeah,
from the FAU Owl.
From the Owl Observer. Yeah, exactly.
From CBS.
Dusty May was aware of that it was Leslie Visser.
Yeah.
I don't think he really recognized me, although he may have. I don't know, but he didn't really acknowledge it because I was sitting there, and I probably, in typical fashion, was wearing the same shirt I was when we were at Talia's Tuscan Kitchen there, and Dusty May sitting down for a very, very casual and interesting interview a while back there on the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show. But and he's been on this show a couple of times, so he might be familiar with us. I wasn't going to chime in with any questions. What was I going to ask? Here's the other thing about college basketball, and it's pro basketball also, Louie, but when did this become almost a prelude? It's a prelude to every move that's made. That whoever gets the ball immediately does an up fake.
Oh, yeah.
What is that, Louie? And why would anybody ever go for the initial up fake when nobody ever takes the shot?
They always go for it.
Every pass that's caught. Guy's in the corner. He's wide open. Somebody finally comes out to him. I mean, too late to have had any impact on the shot if he decided to shoot one out of the corner, which most people would take every time. And, he's an up fake. And then dribble into trouble in the middle of the paint and fire the ball back out to the three-point line. And then what does that guy do? An up fake, and he dribbles into the middle of the paint again. We talk about this a lot. I mean, and this it hit me with even greater clarity while I was watching this because I'm thinking, what are these guys doing out here offensively? I mean, what is their mission? What are they trying to do? And I'm watching Tulane, and they weren't a very good team. They were a sub-500 team. Perry Clark, by the way, the former coach, was doing the color analysis. The game was being televised on ESPNU, I believe.
Okay.
ESPNU. There wasn't a lot of fanfare there. I mean, I'm looking around. I didn't see any cameras, anything. I'm thinking, is this game even on TV? This was they've fallen out of the top 25, though, FAU. Have they not? They're not in the top 25 that I just looked at.
No.
Are they hovering around, others getting votes, or are they finished in that regard? Because May seemed pretty confident.
I think
unless they ask them about the tournament.
They're hanging around. They're hanging around. Like Ken said, they been ranked most of the year. They'll finish top 2 in their conference. They'll end up with a good record that they'll make the tournament. It's just coming off of last year, you thought they were going to just fucking annihilate people and be like a top.
The narrative was they were bringing almost everybody back. I think they had like 1 or 2 defections of their key players, but it wasn't anything that you thought was going to be overwhelmingly compromising and that they were going to be great this year. And that never really transpired. I mean, when I saw out there against Tulane, a sub-500 team that I would imagine is pretty poor on the road. wasn't anything that you said, whoa, I mean, watch out for these guys. Not that they were bad, but it wasn't anything that was overwhelmingly impressive. Lubie, don't see them making that same move by this year, and you would have to think, does that ever happen again, Lubie? Did they put themselves far enough on the map to ever have that happen again, or is that purely? I mean, somebody should do the anatomy of a Cinderella season and go back and see if they can't do a documentary on last year's FAU season, because that may be a once in a lifetime achievement by them. Dusty May goes, well, what do they do? And that would be the rampant speculation that this guy is so thorough and professional. Would be, how could he possibly not achieve great success on a higher level of college basketball if you can get that much higher than being a Final Four team? Or is it good enough to be a tournament team every year? Would that not be a reasonable distinction for a college basketball team? If you just made the tournament every year, or you figured you were going to make the tournament every year unless something bizarre happened.
I mean, if you're the FAU Owls and you find a way to become a consistent tournament team, that's amazing. It just sucks because after that run, you don't know if you ever. I don't see them doing it again. This would have been the year. Been like, okay, you bring everyone back, you have experience, you look really good.
Coach comes back.
To fall off a little bit, it's like, I don't know if they're ever reaching those heights ever again.
Hard to fathom. It really is. I mean, given what, it's not like the facility's bad or anything, but it doesn't. Literally, like beyond minor league compared to these other programs, these massive programs that have been dominant forever. I mean, a game in FAU, it was nothing like going, I would imagine, to a game at Duke or Kentucky or any of the other big schools. So, I mean, amazing, worthy of just an endless stream of applause that they did what they did last year. And yet, I don't see it happening again. I don't see that same scenario unfolding. And think about it, right? Well, didn't they get the big benefit when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue? Was that FAU that benefited the most from that, or am I wrong about that?
No, I think their run was pretty
Because did they not play Fairleigh Dickinson in the second round after they upset Purdue?
I think they played a bunch of teams.
Yeah, they got
what happened.
Favorable draw all the way through. When it looked like, I mean, they were set up for a fall. And so that was a great story, though. I'm glad I went. It was an enjoyable experience. If you were looking to take a kid to a college basketball game, it was kind of fun. Who plays the tuba, Lubie? Does anybody really take that up as an instrument of choice? What would be the advantage of that? I mean, what would be your? Do you just do it because you like the instrument? What would compel you to become a tuba player? They had 3 tuba players in the band. It was fantastic. And they actually had some versatility. You would have thought Miles Davis was blowing the horn there. Unbelievable. But, it was fun. Good time. I had my all. Dusty May, very polished. The press conference was conducted with the ultimate of professionalism, Lubie. I was amazed. These young journalists, is there a spot for young journalists? Where are they going to be? Are they all going to be podcasters? What are they going to be doing? Do you aspire to write for a newspaper anymore?
Well, the thing is, I mean, you can make your own route. There's still online magazines. There's still online.
Oh yeah, that's right.
.com
stuff.
There's still sites, and then on top of that, you can do your own thing. I mean, blogs and YouTube, and you can name your own thing. There's more opportunities now. It's just
it's harder to make money at them. Yeah,
the standard places we knew aren't automatics anymore.
No, you can't just go out and get a job.
To create your own way a lot of the time now.
Pretty much make your own position. That's great. All right, a bunch of other things happen. We've got a big one tonight, Lubie, a big game tonight in the NHL. The Florida Panthers taking on the New York Rangers at the Garden in New York. 2 teams that have been going back and forth, point differential either way in terms of being the best team in the East, with the Boston Bruins mixed right in there. But right now, the 2 hottest teams in the game, the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers, both on fire. They clash tonight. We'll get into that a little bit. Boston Celtics over Golden State yesterday, 146-88, Lubie. Are you still going to sell out on the Celtics? Is this just bias from your association for many years with the professor that you've you would have reason? I guess South Florida people, unless they're from Boston, have come to despise all Boston teams.
I mean, outside of the Patriots, I never had any issues with Boston teams.
Okay.
I just think the coverage of Boston teams is fucking weird. Like, have
they not been far and away, though, the best in the NBA this year?
No, the Nuggets are bad. It's
No?
not terrible. They have been the best in the Eastern Conference. And again, if you're looking at the East right now, okay, like everyone's hurt. It's literally come down to the teams that are healthier. They've been healthy. They haven't had any injuries. The Heat have issues. The Sixers have had issues. The Knicks have had issues. The two teams that are leading the conference are the two teams that have been healthy. Okay.
Yeah.
I find it interesting to think that you're going to go an entire NBA season without having injuries. So to me, okay, hey, you've been very healthy. I hope you're playing good basketball. Like, I don't know. We'll see. They're the best team in the East. I still think the Nuggets are clearly the best team in the NBA. Like, they're fucking around, the Nuggets. And whenever they play any of these teams, if they want to win, the Lakers were in that game, and they just, okay.
The Nuggets are one of those teams that literally defines the adage and cliche. They know how to win.
Yeah, well, and they're just perfectly balanced. They have the superstar who's unselfish, and at times they're better when he's passing. But he himself went on a 13-0 run. Like, if Jokic wants to take over, he clearly can. And he's not a sieve on defense. They actually have one of the rare, really good coaches in the league, and we're at a time where there's not a lot of good coaches right now.
Yeah.
And they're very unassuming. They get along. There's no big egos. I don't know. They're just as scary.
And they're coming off a championship where they weren't favored to win the whole thing.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like they're like. That's the thing. A lot of the time we're talking about with FAU, winning the next year is the hardest thing because you get the taste, and a lot of time you get satisfied. I don't think that's the case with them. I think they got the taste, and now they're like, okay, we know how it was. Now let's not overdo it this year. Let's get in shape and do the same fucking thing. I don't know. They're scary. I mean, the Celtics are the best team in the East, and they're the team that has, I guess, the best chance to take them out of the East. I just don't know if anyone can play with them if they really take a series seriously and are healthy. If they're healthy, they're just really well put together. They
have a lot of different components there. I mean, they have a couple of tough guys with Gordon and Porter, who are both versatile. And they're role players on this team, although you think Gordon is probably more crucial to everything that happens as more of a catalyst than Porter is. But Porter's hitting his three-point shot now, which I don't know that he was as consistent with it, or maybe I'm just watching. It's Kyle Korver syndrome for me, where I never saw Korver make a three, even though he was maybe among the best ever in NBA history. And Porter, every time I see him, he never misses.
He was great until the finals. That's why that series became a series, because it was very Harden-esque, where that Thunder series, like Porter Jr. all year was really good at hitting threes. He got a ton of wide open ones for Heat because you couldn't cover everyone, and he couldn't hit the side of the barn.
Yeah. And
then eventually the last 2 or 3 games, he's like, all right, fuck it. And he just, again, he's a 6'10" guy that's an athletic freak and can ball handle too. So he's like, all right, fine, I'm just going to stop shooting threes. And then the Heat had no answer for him inside. But he is a three-point shooter. That's what's scary about. That's the problem with the Celtics to me, is their bench sucks, and people can throw out their.
Who are these guys on the bench?
The bench sucks.
They got a bunch of nondescript-looking white guys. What did they just fill out the roster? Would anybody?
Yeah, they sold their soul to have a really good starting five.
Yeah.
And now they have no bench. It's not even like they had last year's bench where sometimes you get some play and they're okay. No, their bench is horrendous. Like, I don't even Peyton Pritchard. Like, it's a bunch of guys that wouldn't make rosters in the NBA. Like,
it really does look like the G League has taken over
when they
go to the bench. But by the way, what was it, Tennessee? Somebody started 5 white guys in college basketball.
I don't know if it was Tennessee.
Is that possible?
It is possible, but I don't think it was Tennessee.
I'm watching a game. I'm looking. I'm going, maybe this guy's, I don't mean to classify him as a minority, but he was a non-Caucasian. It's possible. They had one guy that was of Puerto Rican descent. I don't know. Do you count that? Or do you count that as 5 white guys?
I don't know.
I'd be inclined to say 5 white guys.
He's not black.
I was stunned. I'm looking. I'm going, wait a minute. There's not a single, non-Caucasian out there on the floor. 5 guys that you never see that anymore.
On basketball.
Never. No. BYU starts 3 black guys.
Yeah, they're black guys.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right. So you don't think the Celtics injuries are going to catch up with them? The luck of the draw. They've been lucky all season. That's possible. Porzingis has been playing. That's been one of your big theories. I don't know. I mean, the way that they're handling their business so far this year, you would have to be impressed and think that maybe it got to them a little bit last year that they fucked up so badly and lost Game 7 to the Heat and lost their opportunity to compete for the championship. I don't know that they would have beaten the Nuggets last year, and I don't know that they'll be better than any team in the West this year. But they appear to be. I mean, Does it take a genius to make this deduction? Head and shoulders above everybody else that's in the East right now.
Right now, yeah, for sure. I mean, look at the Cavs yesterday.
No.
Brunson gets hurt in that game.
And they lose to the Knicks at home.
The Knicks, you're trying to keep, because they started to fuck around a little bit. The Heat are coming on. The Sixers are sort of hanging around without Embiid. Like, you win that game yesterday, and then they lose, and they just fell apart.
They've been playing well. They've been finding ways to win games, overtime, double overtime.
I don't trust it. I mean, look, it feels like in the East, the Heat are that one team that can get in the side of the Celtics because they don't give a fuck.
Yes.
And they've been there before, and they have a lot of veterans. And Spoelstra is the kind of coach where you talk about wins above replacement with players in baseball. He's the one coach that
he's a difference-making coach.
He can give you wins. Like, he finds a way, no matter what the fuck's going on.
I don't know how he does it.
To win. So, and they have guys like Caleb Martin who have done nothing all year that outcome we know, rise to the occasion in the playoffs. And I don't know if there's anyone else in the East that can do that. The Knicks, to me, they're counting on guys to play 10 times above their head, the whole team. Like, even Brunson as a number one.
This is also a difficult thing where you had it together, then you lost all of your stars. You even made a deal at the trade deadline for Anunoby that was looking very, very fortuitous.
Great.
They were playing great. The team got better from what was a good team to begin with. And now you're going to have all these different guys coming back late in the season from injuries that weren't just like a pulled hamstring or something. These were some serious injuries where surgery was a consideration. I don't know that it's going to be easy. And in the process of playing without these guys, you're having other players get banged up, like Brunson now. He twisted an ankle the other day, hurt his knee. I mean,
yesterday,
it's the kind of compounding thing that, unfortunately, is going to be, I think, difficult to overcome because they have to essentially come together again. Now.
When he's a small dude, like injuries like that are going to impact you. Look, the Bucks should be the team, right? They have the best 1-2 punch in the league, possibly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Celtics fans, and they're playing better now. Did they won 4 in a row? I know they had won 3 in a row, and I think they won over. I don't know. They might have won 4 in a row.
Yeah,
playing better, and I don't know how the Celtics would even try to guard them. Like, let Porzingis try to cover Giannis. I think Giannis would fucking.
You could see the Celtics losing a series to the Bucks. No doubt.
The Bucks could, but I don't know what to do with him. Like, I don't trust Rivers. Like, he's the opposite of Spoelstra. Like, when his team needs him to figure shit out, he goes the other way. He makes a stupid ass decision, keeps Embiid in there, gets Embiid hurt when the game's fucking over, and now you end up losing a series that you should definitely win.
One of the biggest coaching blunders since Kevin Cash took out Blake Snell after he gave up an infield dribbler and had like a 6 2/3 perfect game going in a postseason in a World Series game.
World Series.
And this guy says, hey, let's go with the bullpen there. The analytics guy, hey, Joe, what do you got? And it's some fat guy eating a donut. He's got a math book in front of him and a slide rule, and he's telling you, nope, go with the lefty. We're going to run for a little while. We'll come back with more. Good to have you guys with us, peeling ourselves off the mound. I don't know if we accomplished much there. Lubie hates the Celtics and thinks that they're all going to get crushed.
I don't think that. I'm curious to see them against the Nuggets. But that's anyone. I'm not a Nuggets fan. They beat my team. I was fucking livid watching that goddamn team.
They're an entertaining team to watch because if you're a basketball purist, if you will, you enjoy the way that they play. It's kind of like not quite the same as Golden State when Golden State had this just incredibly flowing movement to everything that they did. And it seemed to hit all the right buttons, and everything that you thought about basketball as some kind of physical ballet. You were seeing that from the Golden State Warriors. These guys have these nuts and bolts components. I mean, they have the guy that you need there in Murray, which gives you, that one guy that is kind of, always capable of scoring and going off on a huge night. And it seems like you need one of those guys if you're going to be successul. After the Heat, it would be Jimmy Butler, but you don't always get that from Jimmy Butler because he's not as assertive offensively until you get to the postseason, or so it seems. So you don't see it all the time from him, but you see it from McCollum and some of these other guys that, are that type of player. Lillard would be another example. You have to have that. They have that, and then they have these two steady rocks that are both tough as nails, like we were talking about in Gordon and Porter. And then you have Jokic, who is probably He's so surprisingly versatile for a guy that looks like a big clod. And looks like he's operating in slow motion, but he gets the ball. He knows exactly what the hell he's doing at all times. You rarely see him make like some lazy turnover or mistake.
No, it's rare. He did it the other day. He was dribbling up the floor and he like just lost it out of bounds.
Yeah.
And the arena got silent.
You rarely see it. You don't see him getting passes tipped, even though there are four guys around him and he's zooming the ball inside, for a guy with a wide open layup. Have all of the components that you would like to see in a basketball team when they're working in symmetry, and they do get contributions off the bench.
Yeah, they do.
So I think they're going to be tough, but there are other teams in the West that look like they could at least challenge. Look,
the Thunder and the Clippers are interesting. Are the Clippers too old and the Thunder too young? I mean, the talent's there, and they have depth too. They have a lot of depth on both of those teams.
Yeah, it's Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, he would be a candidate for MVP.
He's a top 5 to 6 player in the league. I mean, he does everything, and he's modern day where he's efficient as fuck. Like his shooting percentages are ridiculous.
About 54%,
and he shoots perimeter. It's not just he's dunking. He's not
and under pressure too.
He's not dunking all the time. Like
his mid-range jumpers are almost routinely challenged by more than one guy. It's not like token pressure either.
Nope.
And he's making these shots. So, I mean, shooting 54% under those circumstances while averaging 31, we've been talking about it. How is this guy not the MVP?
He's in it. That's the discussion. I mean, he's in Oklahoma City. It'll be between Jokic or I guess Tatum because he's on the Celtics. Or the number 1 seed. He's having a good year. People keep talking about Tatum, but
just watching the way Jokic slugs his way through a ball game,
it's crazy to me because you watch him, you're like,
who would you rather have if they showed up at the park, Jokic or Tatum?
You're like, who's this guy?
Exactly. All right, we got to run. We're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Peel yourself off to Mount Monday. Glad to have you guys online. Always appreciate the comments on the chat line. From Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It is 8:38. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Jeremy Piven. The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten a sugar nut.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
It is crazy out there. I mean, everybody's out of their mind. Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, Chris Mortensen. Wow, checking out. That was sad.
Like what? Because I know he had cancer a few years back.
Cancer he had, yes.
You had seen him. He had definitely looked like frail, and it was sad. But I thought he got over it. I thought he was doing okay.
No, he had. I guess he was diagnosed 2016 with stage 4. That's quattro. Throat cancer, which actually you usually don't see a great success rate with throat cancer. Although we've known people that have had it that have gotten through it, right? Didn't Doc Reno have a bout with, was that throat cancer he had or something on his tongue?
He
I
had
don't know.
cancer, but it wasn't, I don't know if it was throat cancer.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing medical breakthroughs where you have guys like our good friend Ron Nicoletti, who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I mean, Patrick Swayze, check please.
Yeah. Oh no,
You never last like a year with that, and he's fine. He seems to be in recovery. So
that's amazing.
and looks good too. So there have been some remarkable changes in terms of dealing with this and finding ways to help people not just deal with it, but even beat cancer. But he fought this for 8 years. Throat cancer, though, I want to say is among the more deadly and difficult to treat.
That sucks.
So anyway, yeah, Mortensen, he hung in there a long time. I mean, his appearance changed shortly after the diagnosis. But I mean, think about this. Is it possible? I don't even know that Mortensen could get a job at ESPN today. Do you think? No theatrics, no clown-like tactics, no demonstrative behavior, no trying to constantly say, push the envelope or whatever of good taste. None of that. Just straightforward reporting that you believe to be factual each and every time. We referenced this earlier this morning on our No Filter show where, you were talking about guys that every time they came on, you thought, wow, whatever this guy said, I'm going to buy it because
Yes.
it seems like he's always on the money or, because he's not embellishing it with a lot of theatrics and hysterics. I have a tendency to think that what he's saying is true. And we thought that of Peter Gammons, only tarnished by his Jackie Smith moment, where he was sitting there in front of A-Rod, who still had a syringe in his neck, who had just been busted for having like drugs in the trunk of his car. He had his own facility, for God's sake, his own Victor Conti type of laboratory that it was operating out of a duplex in Hialeah, where everybody's lined up. I mean, just about anybody that was in the major leagues that had accomplished anything was lined up with A-Rod in there trying to get drugs straight off the black market from Mexico. And Gammons asked him and says, hey, A-Rod, have you ever done any performance-enhancing drugs? And he goes, no. And the next question is about whether the Cubs can contend this year. I'm like, what? Come on, Pete. You're not going to let him get away with that, are you? Can you imagine our man Armin Katayan having A-Rod just mealy mouth?
No.
Katie Couric, same thing, man. Unbelievable. I mean, it was a disgrace to their journalistic career. But, you thought Gammons had that kind of credibility. Like if he told you the Red Sox were thinking about doing this, there was a pretty good chance the Red Sox were thinking about doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And the same, I think, was true of Mortensen, who also brought along Adam Schefter, who became the big star of that particular genre, the NFL Insider, and apparently works very hard at doing it. But Mortensen did it without making it look like he was really all that bothered by it, right? Never was frantic or anything like that.
No. Mort was one that even in the later years, they went away from him because of Schefter.
Yeah.
I always trusted him. Like Mort was one that like he had good sources and he didn't oversell.
He had a dignity to him in his approach and his presentation also.
It was huge. When I saw that yesterday, I was like, what? I was like, oh.
Yeah. But 8 years since the diagnosis. So, but unfortunately passed away at 72. We did want to make note of that because you're not going to see too many more guys like that, are you? Chris Mortensen. So somebody that can just be that low-key, be that trusted, and yet at the same time, you feel like it's not as if he's sugarcoating his reports to protect people that he happens to be friendly with. I don't know. I never got that feeling with Mortensen. It just seemed like he was a reliable, credible, very believable reporter, and apparently was a genuinely good guy who made people laugh all the time and wasn't afraid to poke fun at himself, even though he was considered to be the guy when it came to NFL information for a long period of time. He still would be considered, I think, the number one all-time NFL insider, with apologies to some of our good friends who do this for a living, and have in the past. But you would have to say that Mortensen was the guy that everybody went to when they were looking for credible and solid information.
Oh, yeah, for a long time at least.
Yeah, no, it was great. So we want to pay tribute to him. Unfortunate, passing, and fought, I guess, 8 years against a very, very difficult form of cancer. And when it was diagnosed, it was already in a late and a very threatening stage. So, and very dignified in the way that he worked, right? Pretty much to the end, this guy. So
he was working. Like, that's what I thought he was okay. You were seeing him a lot more the last few years.
That being said, and I don't know if Jim's listening or watching the show now live, Jim Sarney, our good friend, but, and I don't think he's an original also. He would not be inclined to poach material from this program or any other. I don't suspect that Sarney is listening or watching other shows so he can steal some material or maybe even inspire his own version of the same material. But I do believe that we're doing him a disservice by not diving in to the Mike Lubitz Combine Chronicles today.
I mean, all I have from the Combine is the receivers are fucking nuts. Like this receiver class.
Who was this guy that ran the 4.2 and then pulled his hip out of socket or whatever?
Oh, did he? I know Xavier Worthy, the guy from Texas.
Somebody hurt themselves in the dash.
Setting the fucking record.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about his hip though, so I don't know. I don't know if that was him. It's just the numbers we're seeing. A lot of 4.3s, which are crazy for bigger receivers. This is a receiver draft that you can see like 10 guys taken in the first 1.5 to 2 rounds. And they're all legit. Like, I'd be happy to get any of them. Like the FSU guy, he ran one of the FSU, the guy who was a monster, Johnny Wilson, ran a 4.5, which is fucking weird for 6'7", 230, ran a 4.5. The other guy, Cam Coleman, who's like 6'4", 220, ran a 4.6, which you don't want to see, but then everything else he did was fucking amazing. And he's a guy that would be a number one. Like, the receiving draft is nuts. And the quarterback, I'm curious what they do. I think Williams goes 1. The Jaden Daniels stuff where he's up to like a top 3 pick, I think is astounding because
you don't think he's not good?
He's good and he put up amazing numbers, but he's not great. Like I like Penix Jr. more than Jaden Daniels.
Penix Jr. didn't do himself any favors with that championship game.
What's funny is he fucked himself with the championship game, but then supposedly he killed the combine.
Yeah.
I
mean, think about it. What would you rather have? A guy who killed a championship game and sucked in the combine?
Yeah, exactly.
Or vice versa. When the spotlight was on and he had a chance with a team that everybody believed in, including us.
Yeah, I did.
Did you not think that Washington had a legitimate shot to win on the money line against Michigan, and that Michigan was going to be exposed finally as the farce that most people thought they were throughout the entire season?
Yep.
A very controversial season in which their head coach was suspended for about half of it.
Twice. He was suspended twice in the same year.
For indiscretions that you would think were completely of a minor variety, would you not, compared to what's really going on? I mean, the NCAA has now suspended investigations, which you were wondering how they had investigations to begin with, into a situation, a circumstance, a guideline, or parameters that really had no boundaries. How were they monitoring it? And this was something that had been discussed, but they were unprepared for it because they were overwhelmed by the influence of name, image, and likeness. Although all that did, Lubie, in my opinion, was put this stuff on the table.
Yeah,
and maybe go a little deeper in the number of players that were receiving these kind of benefits.
It opened it up and it put it out there. So because of that, some of the schools that pussyfooted are now all in.
Yeah,
it's nothing new. It's stuff that's gone on forever. And I just it's just funny that the NCAA gave.
How are they investigating any of this shit?
Fucked 2 schools. They fucked FSU.
Oh, FSU, of course.
Seemed to be okay out of it. It actually happened a year ago, and FSU had their best year in 10 years. So how bad did it fuck them? But they got hit, and then was it UF? One other school got hit, and then now magically, because they lost this Tennessee thing, they're now going to stop all investigations. Like, so does FSU get their shit back? Like, how does that?
What is it that they're doing though? I mean, the NCAA as an organization. At least we know the World Boxing Council is out there, openly screwing and fucking people and taking money that they have no business laying their hands on, except for the fact that somehow they're an organization that, for whatever reason, people decide to recognize it as if it actually was something of significance. Who gives a shit? The 2 best fighters get in the ring and they square off for the championship. Are you concerned whether it involves the WBC's official acknowledgement? I don't give a shit. Do you? I mean, that's gone. So you would think the NCAA would be of that level of distinction now also, where nobody gave a flying one. Where the organization literally would be screaming at the wind. They have like no weight whatsoever at this point. But it's interesting because could you see I always use this as an example. Could you see like 10 years ago the Cavender twins getting paid millions of dollars to come and play 1 year of backup basketball and ride the bench for UM? As women's basketball players, that we're not going to make any huge significant difference in the program. It's not happening. Right? Wasn't happening before, but it certainly is now. So the complexion of the game has just changed dramatically. Now you get to the combine, and what? If you're overly impressive, how much does that really help? Because one of the things that I'm looking at when you started rattling off all these dash times, Lubie. Oh, well, he ran a 4.5, and the other guy ran a 4.48. How much difference does that really make?
I don't know, because that's my thing is like, it's cool to see like FSU's defensive tackle. They have a guy, Braden Fisk, who became a monster at the end of the year. He's 6'4", 300 pounds, and he ran a 4.78. Like, that's impressive. But again, that just underscores what you already saw. That's my thing, is we saw it on the field. He literally was just blowing up offensive linemen. Like, okay. Like, I guess it could solidify what you already thought.
Yeah.
But when they're like when they're like, oh my God, like the Chris Johnson, where he was some random fucking dude from Eastern Carolina or whatever, and then he ran a 4.2, so he became a first round pick, and he ended up having a long career. Good for him. That's rare. Like, to me, the 40 making you, then you draft that guy, and then you realize, oh fuck.
I mean, is a guy really going to sprint 40 yards down the field, untouched?
Yeah.
Unimpeded in any way. Nobody even like forces him to go off the straight line. He's just going to do a fly pattern right down the field, 4.2, and you're trying to cover him with a cornerback that ran a 4.4. Are you really at that much of a disadvantage? I don't know, because it seems to me that the key in wide receiving, being successful at the position, is if you're going to be a deep threat, especially, is a couple of things. Number one, can you make moves with the ball when you've got it underneath the coverage?
Yep.
Which is Tyreek Hill's game. Although he can go over the top and is very fast, obviously, because how many times have you seen him behind the opposing corner?
Yeah.
But beyond that, I mean, it was always, could you kind of display a quick burst of speed at some point while you were running a route?
Yes.
Whether it was off the line of scrimmage or somewhere in the middle of the route, all of a sudden you just turn up the jets, and maybe you're doing this for 5 or 10 yards tops. But the whole idea that these 40 times should be so significant, I don't know. Am I way off base on that? If a guy runs a 6.0 40 and he's a wide receiver, okay, he's going to suck.
Yeah.
I don't know what Fred Biletnikoff would have run, but probably wouldn't have been all that great.
And he still won the first round, so that shows how much they cared about it then. Now they would lose it. Look, if guys are close, they use it as
guys keep getting so fast. I mean, they're the times are always diminishing in these things.
There's like 5 or 6 guys that are in the same group this year. So what they'll do is they'll use that 40 to decipher them. I don't know how true that is. The 40s.
I wouldn't put 100% faith in the 40 times.
It's just rare that guys, and again, when they do run a 9 route, most of the time it gets stopped because
no one ever just flies 40 yards unimpeded down the field.
Yeah, you usually get stopped at the line. They're hand checking each other. There's it's just, and that's the same thing when they had the linemen do that shit.
You're going to get bumped in the first couple of yards.
It's like, when does a lineman?
You're probably going to have a guy grabbing your jersey all the way down with no flag. You're fist fighting, so to speak, up with your upper body. You're grabbing and doing this and positioning yourself. Who just runs a 40-yard dash right down the field? So I mean, the implication is when you see these times always being listed and emphasized so heavily is that, oh, well, this guy runs a 4.2 and he's being covered by a guy who ran a 4.5. Total mismatch. But how much of a mismatch is it really? I don't know. I mean, I think so much is that because it's the only stat that we can recognize from the Combine? You're the author of the Combine Chronicles. You should help us decide.
Well, that's the thing
is that the only legitimate quantifying number that we get out of this thing?
There's plenty of numbers that teams take seriously, but fans don't really know what like the shuttle and the vert and all these things. Like, they don't know what it means compared to things we know.
I know vertical because I couldn't even reach the first thing.
No, but I'm saying, like, what's a good one? What's bad? Like, we know, okay, 4.4, right? That was always. He ran a 4.4, and then Dion and Vic mythically ran a 4.2, but like, so we can sort of gauge it. That's it. The 40 to me is stupid. Like, it's
an interesting measuring stick for what? I mean,
but even running backs like Derrick Henry isn't fucking super fast. He ended up running, I think, a good 40 for his size, but like, you're getting hit at the line. So you're not just running straight without contact. It's, are you strong enough to break the tackle and then turn on acceleration? Yes. And they do a bunch of other drills that test that, to me, better than the 40. The 40 is just fun. It's just Rich Eisen in the suit and Tom Brady looking 20 years older when he was 20 years younger. Like, I mean, it's not really attributable to football as much as they try to make it.
They make it seem like it's the most important element of scrutinizing a player's ability to succeed in the NFL. And so that's it for the Combine Chronicles. I mean, Sony's not going to get anything out of that. Are you kidding me?
No, the wide receiver draft this year is as deep and as talented as any. You could get a guy in the second round that in any other draft to be a top 10 pick. Like, it's pretty fucking loaded. And I'm curious what they do with the back half of the quarterbacks, the Bo Nixes, the Jordan Travises, those guys.
What about this McCarthy guy from Michigan?
McCarthy, who they want to make a top 15 pick, and I wouldn't go near that fucking guy.
I'm not sure he's a big-time pro.
They ran the most boring offense ever. If you have a quarterback that's this fucking top 10 pick, aren't you chucking the ball? Like, they never threw it. They went entire halves without throwing the goddamn ball.
He was sort of there and thereabouts, McCarthy, for me. Like typical. I don't know. I mean, if you say typical of a Michigan quarterback, what would you be thinking about Tom Brady? I don't know. Was he any great shakes at Michigan? 6th-round draft pick, for God's sake. They have, I mean, most of the mock drafts and pundits have McCarthy going midway in the first round as a quarterback. Seems, and he may turn out to be great. It's possible. I don't know that I saw that necessarily. And had Penix not sucked completely in that championship game, well, was he under such duress that it threw him out of his element? Was Michigan putting that much pressure on him?
That's what people are saying is he got used to not getting hit. And that's the thing that I always worried about with the quarterbacks in college that look good is what are they going to do when they're under pressure? He supposedly was under pressure. I don't remember he was under pressure in that game. I don't remember him being.
It seemed like he had opportunity. His throws looked like he had a gyroscope in the ball, though, which at moment of truth, that's the old Tony Segreto thing, Lubie. Moment of truth. How do you hold up? And in this case, he did not acquit himself very well, which you would think would damage his position there in the NFL draft, which we all know that somebody's going to make just a humongous blunder. And it could it be, Louis? How about this for the Chronicles? This could be your headline. Louis' Combine Chronicles. Could Williams be the biggest mistake that anybody ever made in the history?
There you go.
Is he the new Caleb Williams? Is he the new Jamarcus Russell, where somebody fell in love with this guy early on and ignored the fact that in the case of Jamarcus Russell, what did he show up at? Like 400 pounds for the first Raiders training camp?
He was like 260. I don't know. He was like high 200s, even though he was a fucking quarterback.
Yeah, he looked like he had spent a week in New Orleans, like Mike Mayo, who won't be live today. We're hoping he is alive. We haven't heard from him since that mother's breakfast. Have you heard anything from him since?
We got stuff yesterday. I told Shirley this. I'm like, and again, I mean, I eat more than one good meal, but you don't, like every half hour we were getting food pics, and I'm like, I don't think you eat that much. I know it's New Orleans.
I don't think you could go out for 3 squares a day in New Orleans.
No, you do like beignets in the morning.
If you ate that mother's breakfast, you're probably not eating the rest of the day.
So we didn't have big breakfast. The big breakfast to me is the thing you're not doing.
That's harmful to the rest of your enjoyment.
You do like beignets. You have you share an order of beignets. You have half a beignet. You have some coffee. Then lunch, you do a nice meal, but you don't go ham because you walk around. It's a lot of walking around. If you're eating a ton of food, it's hard to walk around. So like, I don't.
It depends on the weather there. In the dead of summer, it's rough there. Schwitzy city. You're soaking wet the entire time. All you do is drink the entire time.
I don't know, but every 30 minutes it's.
But he's not a Bourbon Street guy. You know him. He's got to be like some sort of pseudo-intellectual type.
Yeah, but where do you go?
This is beneath him. Yeah,
you're not in the French Quarter.
He doesn't want to smell vomit on Canal Street as you make that corner. Try the ATM machine and there's throw up all over it. I like that. And he wasn't inclined to stop at a cart and get a lucky dog either. So.
No, I don't know.
He couldn't have much to say. I think he's into too much foo-foo at this point. Hopefully he'll come back in one piece. All right, we'll have a replay of a show that we did last week with Frankie Tallarico, actually.
Yes.
Going today on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. We'll join you again tomorrow. You can catch us also on nofilter.net and even more conveniently, Caffeine TV. Just Google Caffeine TV, as in coffee, the morning briefing, and you'll catch a lot of the same shit on our national platform. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It was a lot of fun being with you. We will see you next time. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you tomorrow. Getting another week started here, peeling ourselves off the mat as we leave you now. That was a weird one. I don't know that we really accomplished anything there. Did we at least have the Mort tribute right?
I think you nailed that.
Fuck, what's going on with us, Lubie? It's 9:00.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.